Hello, Facebook fans. Um, my name is Maho, and yeah, this is the first putting myself out there. Finally, you get to put a face to the name, right? Yeah, that's me, Maho. Yeah, and I've been around a while, creating mischief and trying to be authentic, trying to find myself in the midst of all this chaos that is going on. But you know something, this chaos didn't start just now, That's chaos was going on for a while. I think we're coming to the crucible. So why am I putting myself out there now? Why do I write? I don't know. I write because I feel that there's a calling inside of me to to connect, to connect with people, people's hearts, people's minds. I think I'm more concerned about connecting with the hearts and mind more than the brain. People say they can't try and figure what am I saying. They don't know what I'm saying. But I think, as in any language, you hear the language, you're not familiar with the language, but over time you begin to learn the context of the language and eventually understand what the language is saying, right? You learn to break it down, you learn to sound out the construct, you know, of the language. We call them vowel and consonants in English. Another language may call it something else. And then a vibrational language may call it even something else too. Frequency, vibration, resonance, all of those wonderful stuff. So it's all language, it's all the same thing. And the language is a means of communication and articulation. But it's not just a communication and articulation, it's also a means of creation. The Word. And the Word was God, and all things was created by the Word. So when we begin to understand the nuances of language and the full, you know, context of the language, we can use that language to create stuff. We create stuff. We create emotional signatures with language. I am um, angry. I am fearful. Those are words to use to describe a condition or a state. Um, Ultimately, we will learn to manage the language where you say, I can create. I have created. And not just saying that, but actually manifest it in real time. That is what Christ talk about when he say, and these things that I've done, that will he do, and greater still. So you have some people who say, oh no, you can't be greater than Jesus. Jesus wasn't saying that you're going to be greater than him. What he's saying is that the vibrational frequency that I am, you will occupy. And based on that occupation of that vibrational frequency, it will allow you to do certain things. That's when he talk about the Holy Spirit coming onto you and supping with you and eating and breaking bread and all of that yada yada stuff. It's the same thing. The vibrational frequency which Christ occupied when he walked this planet, that will you occupy as well. And by virtue of that occupation, the office of that occupation will allow you to do some fantastic and superhuman stuff, right? That is even now manifesting itself. So when we become fully familiar, not just from an intellectual standpoint, but from a metaphysical, psychological, emotional, and spiritual standpoint, there is some inherent power that is going to be available to us. Now, you may say to me, Maho, on what authority are you saying these things? Why are you saying these things to us? That is impossible. Well, I'm not saying anything new. You know, the scriptures, both the Christian scriptures and the other scriptures talk about these things in no uncertain terms. They talk about the enhanced energy and power of the human and the potentiality. The whole idea of the return of the gods. When they said the return of the gods, they didn't understand the full concept of the gods. So the return of the god is interpreted in our time as being a totally physical thing, like a physical God coming down and being a physical presence and a physical return. Well, the indications are that the return of the gods is through the essence of human energy and spirit. It's when man has fully evolved from a spiritual standpoint that the godlike essences and the nature will manifest through the venues of man's world and his operation. So, there's a lot to come and there's a lot to be said. We talk about it from the religious traditions. Now we can also talk about the same very thing from a scientific point of view. How do you explain it? The Big Bang, God didn't create the earth. It was the bang, What the hell is bang? It's funny. One man said, God used sound to create the earth, Let there be, his words, and there was. And God called everything into creation. Now look at science saying the same thing. But because we're so isolated in our thinking, and so from a separatist standpoint, No, I'm telling you the same thing that you're saying, but you have to hear it from my point of view, not that point of view over there, because my point of view is going to elevate my ego and let what I'm saying much more important. The truth is, we're saying the same thing. The Big Bang and everything created from nothing, and the point that the universe came into being was a millisecond and a micromillisecond, and everything was, let there be. The same thing. But there's a lot more to that story. It's not just that. I mean, science don't have all the answers, not yet anyway. And even some of the concepts that they have right now is going to be proven to be erroneous, very erroneous, and it's going to change a lot in terms of the paradigm and the operation of this planet. And neither does religion have it all figured out, because religion is so disjointed right now. It's all more about an ego trip than anything else. You see? And when we get to that fork in the road, where we can see the difference clearly as black and white, then we're going to see the path. That is the point at which Christ said, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. So what is the implication here is that we're not free because we don't know the truth, and we're still living a perception, a lie, a deception. So ultimately, we will know the truth, and the truth shall enlighten us to the point where we can relieve the reality that we hold so dear and so sacred, and realize that it is only a reality, only one of many realities, and you will have the ability to choose which reality you embrace. And that's the whole idea of heaven and hell and all of that goodly stuff comes into place. It's about choosing, who will go to heaven and who will go to hell. That is an overly simplistic concept of how things are. And as we get more enlightened as to the nature of this planet, the nature of our existence, we will understand these things on a more specific and clearer standpoint. So I just thought that I'd share that with you. And there's a lot more to be shared. And if you feel so inclined that you'd like to engage in this conversation, please do. We are all students in this. I'm not greater than you, and I wouldn't suppose you're greater than anybody else, but who knows, some people may feel that way, right? But the point is that this is a time of great learning. There's a lot which is coming from the veil, and it's coming into our reality, and it just depends if you are that 5 virgin which is prepared, or you're that 5 virgin which is not prepared. And yes, I'm using Christian references, but I'm not confined to those Christian references, because the other religions pretty much speak to the same things that we talk about in Christianity. It's just that how we understand them, and the venue and the context in which we place them. And a lot of it is fed-in ego. A lot of it. Yeah. Thank you. So when we get to that point, I'm sure a lot will be opening up. And I'll tell you something before I go. I want you to put some thought into this. They talk about the Sangha, they talk about the church, right? They talk about the gathering. I think there's a name for it in Hindu. I'm not sure what that name is, right? But the idea is that people come together to study and to learn and so on and so forth. And I want to make that clear distinction, right? It is not the name that you put on the building, right? Or the fact that people call themselves Christians, that is a church. It's the energy of communion that is a church. The energy of communion. So it is with the Buddhist tradition. So it is with the Muslim tradition, the Hindu tradition, so on and so forth. The energy of communion is very important. Now, the energy of communion don't have a prerequisite in terms of um, what you have to be. You just have to be open-minded, right? All the other ritual stuff, they're just rituals and mumbo jumbo that people put around stuff to make things more important and impressive, and it's like propaganda, the machinery of propaganda, you know? So once you break through that mentally, you can see things from a more spiritual and energetic standpoint. And with that, I will bid you farewell for now. You have a wonderful evening. Namaste.